Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So ever since I got this car, I've been looking at options for cold air intakes, and everything I read online tells me that there's no point to get a $300 K&N or anything like that. And everybody tells me that the most restrictive part is really only this part. This elbow and this part really necks down. So what I've been reading online is that a lot of guys are just buying some stuff from Frozen Boost and then essentially making their own intake. It's only about $60. We're gonna make, it's a 4-inch down to 3.5-inch aluminum pipe and then a hump post coupler. It's about $60 for all this from Frozen Boost. But the nice thing about it is that I have HP tuners, right? So I'll be able to swap the two pipes out and see if we really get any more airflow. So we're gonna be using the mass airflow sensor, which is located right here. We're not gonna change anything as far as the air box goes, air filters. That's all gonna be for a future video. I got another one planned for you guys. Essentially what I wanna do is I just wanna see if there's any loss of airflow or pressure differential caused by this portion of the pipe. So first thing we gotta do now is, this is a 12-inch piece of aluminum pipe. We gotta cut this down to about 8 inch. We're gonna have to put it on the car and measure it. And then I'll do a back-to-back second gear pull with both intakes. So I'm gonna fab this up first, make sure everything fits up, and then real quickly go do a second gear pull, come back in the garage, put this intake back on, and then do another second gear pull. And we'll be able to record the data on HP tuners and go over the results.
Before we get started on the teardown, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Do it!
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution.
Alright guys, so this is what it looks like. So I think in a future video what I'm going to do, right now it's winter so it's really not going to play a huge role, but I think what I'm going to do is this aluminum pipe, it's really not good for heat. I think I'm going to wrap it in some exhaust header wrap, but that'll be a next video. Now the other thing, because I'm LS2, I have this PCB port here, which I'm either going to put a breather on it or bring it back here with a little bung, but right now for this test, all we're going to do is going to run it like this. So, oh, one more thing. You guys can see that little nipple right there. I'm going to cut that off. I just wanted to leave it on for the test right now because I'm going to be putting the stock piece back on. That just locates it. It's really not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go outside, run the car, breather, just going to breathe into the atmosphere, no big deal. And then we're going to record some HP tuners data from the MAF sensor, and then we'll throw the stock airbox back on. And yeah, it's a little bit ugly with the orientation of the clamps. Don't worry, I'm gonna fix that. This is purely for a couple minutes. We're gonna run it. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get the T-bolt clamps to face down. So it's kind of a pain to install, but it'll look good when the hood's up. So anyway. All right guys, we're in the car now with the new cold air intake. We're just driving over to Mexico to make sure we're legal, do some second gear pulls. All right guys, so I'm just gonna walk you through real quick before we do the pull here what exactly we're gonna look at. Right here, manifold air temperature. So I wanna see, one, is this aluminum pipe causing me any issues with heat soak during the pull? So it's probably not gonna tell us a whole lot, but anyway, we're gonna take a look at that. The second thing we're gonna look at is, if you look on the left here, there's mass airflow sensor in grams per second. So those are the two we're going to overlay with the two different air intakes. And then the third thing is your air induction losses, which is going to be filtered straight for watt, wide open throttle, and then we're going to be looking at what the pressure differential is between barometric pressure, so outside pressure, and the pressure observed in the air in the intake manifold. All right, so here we go, guys. We're doing a pull from about 2,500 RPM, and we're gonna go. Okay, we might have to do a third gear pull. All right, third gear pull now. Alright guys, we're about to do a pull here. This is with the stock intake on. So about 2500 RPM again. Alright, here we go. Hey guys, so we just got back from taking the car out for a rip. I can tell you the butt dyno, nothing really felt any different between the two different intakes. So anyway, what we did was we did 2 pulls on each, right? 2 pulls with the stock in 3rd gear, and then 2 pulls with this intake right here. So this, what we're looking at here, is the data that we collected during those runs. So in this first plot, everything I'm going to show here is plotted up against engine speed on the x-axis here. So the first one you're looking at is mass airflow sensor, right? So grams per second, and you can see it's really noisy. And later I'll show you there's a PCM calculated filtered airflow parameter that's using this. And so if you look real close, you can see maybe there's a little bit of a difference at the high end here between the green. The blue and the green and the red and the black. So the new intake's maybe got a slight edge over the stock intake, but not really a whole lot to see here. So if we look at the pressure drop across, essentially across the whole system, right? So what we're looking at here is your manifold pressure versus your barometric pressure, your pressure outside the vehicle. Starts at 0, right? Low engine speeds, you'd expect almost no pressure drop, and this is in PSI here. But anyway, you can see at the very top end, there's the blue and the green is maybe a little bit lower than the stock intake, so it's probably a little bit better, on the order of a couple tenths of a PSI. So the 3rd metric we're using here is temperature rise over ambient temperature, right? So we're looking at the top, at the beginning of the pull here. This is when the throttle opens up. So you're cruising along. I'm not going to say heat soaked, but your tube is definitely warmed up. And you can see as soon as we crack the throttle, we get some air flowing in there. It drops down significantly. So you can see, as far as heat soak, it doesn't look like the aluminum tube is making that much of a difference. Now, we are in the middle of winter, right? So it was about 30-ish degrees, 35 degrees when we did the pulls. So we'll have to retest this in the summer. But you can see for now, there's really no difference between the different intakes on this plot here. So really what you want to see in this is the conclusion slide here. What you're looking at is the engine getting any more airflow? And it's measuring a pretty consistent increase. It's about 2.5% across the whole rev range. And then the dynamic airflow, that's essentially the final parameter that your PCM is using to schedule how much fuel is going to be injected in the power stroke. So again, about 2.5% all across the rev range there. And if we just take a quick look at fuel injector pulse width, again, shows the same trend. So everything kind of boxes that on average, the aluminum intake probably flows about 2.5% better than the stock intake. So what does that mean for power and torque? That's what everybody wants to know, right? So 2.5%. So you can see on my plot here, this is crank horsepower, right? Recorded by the engine computer, right? So this is at the crank, at the flywheel, and it's what the PCM is calculating based on the amount of airflow that you're delivering, right? So I'm not saying that these are 100% accurate, but what I am saying is that there is a steady increase. And how much is it? Well, it's on the order of probably 4 to 5 foot-pounds at your peak torque, which is in my case 4750. And if we look at peak power, you're probably looking at roughly 5 horsepower. And I think my air filter is really dirty. I know it is, but these LS2s are supposed to peak at 6,000 RPM. My peak I'm seeing here is around 5,700. So that's telling me that there's probably a steep drop off in torque, and that's probably caused by my really dirty air filter. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. And in conclusion, you know, 5 to 7 horsepower for $60. That's a good deal. I guess I would recommend, you know, everybody should swap this on there. And you can see the cross section is really narrowed down in the area, and that's to clear the power steering pulley and the radiator. So anyway, just a really quick and simple test for you today. Make sure you log in next week where we're going to test what an effect a dirty air filter has on engine power using the same methods. And if we run open air box or with different types of filters, is it going to give us more power?